Dems stop fighting for gun control, demand much bigger ban now, they've lost their minds. The recent call for gun control seems to have simmered to a low boil. Liberal Democrats realize that banning particular guns probably won't happen thanks to the fact that an AR-15 is a single-shot weapon, much like a handgun, and they will face an expensive uphill battle that not even Bernie Sanders could afford on his magical source of income. Changing gun laws to include more in-depth background checks, mental health checks, and police report investigations would be more sufficient causes to fight for instead of trying to ban all guns and control the American people by violating their Second Amendment constitutional rights. Some liberal Democrats have cruised over to a much more significant subject than guns. One liberal journalist went on a major tweet episode where he shuns motor vehicles and mostly appears as though he wants to ban cars. It wasn't that long ago when someone from BuzzFeed stated that vehicles don't belong on the road. Even BuzzFeed readers probably gaffed at that claim. The Twitter user is David Glean. Brian Anderson from Downtrend found his tweets and pointed out the comedy behind them and the concept of banning cars. Just imagine you had to walk 20 miles to work every day because a liberal got their way and had cars banned. Or imagine hearing the clip-clop of your horse ride to work. Wouldn't that be amazing? I suppose so many Democrats wouldn't care if cars were banned considering how many of them don't go to work every day and live on the government teat of welfare. In particular, those who are able-bodied and refuse to work, or illegal immigrants just here to milk the system and send the money to their family in their homeland. Here are Clean's tweets. People who think like this, and are not being sarcastic, belong in a museum that features the liberally insane. Driving should be abolished as much as clean drinking water should be banned. We built our cities because we are a great civilization which has made incredible breakthroughs. If David does not prefer to be around cars, then perhaps he would move to a third world location in Africa where it's mostly villages, no running water, and he has to hunt for his food. Perhaps he can fire a tweet storm at an animal who merely falls over in shock after reading his liberal lunacy. In this case, then we're also banning trains, boats, planes, and any other form of transportation that's larger than a car. The only thing that might survive the ban is the pint-sized smart car which probably weighs as much as a dumpster filled with all of Clean's tweets printed out and set on fire. Wrong. Sad. Nope. People don't feel bad about driving. People do feel bad about being late when they should have left 5 minutes earlier, which is me just about every day. He doesn't need to wait for technology to make cars obsolete. He can just make himself obsolete. Then again, his tweets are fun to read because they make average people realize how sane they really are compared to the DC native who states he's a fifth-generation New Yorker. Maybe he dislikes cars because traffic in NYC is pitiful? What about people who live just outside of the city, where there are no skyscrapers and things are not within walking distance? There are areas between urban cities and the suburbs that still require vehicles to get around. At this point, he's no longer making much sense, and it appears as though his tweets are a babbling reach for logic, of which there is none present. Maybe it was built around the fact that people wanted things close by and they established cities from the center and expanded. A city will obviously need roads to travel from place to place, regardless of whether it's by foot, bus, car, bike, or horse. In fact, you can find all of those forms of transportation in almost any city with fair weather. What about delivery trucks who bring supplies to the city from factories located outside the city? How would they get around if there were no roads? There are so many holes in the ban cars logic that it's just another far-left reach that would point humanity back to obscurity. Cars aren't mandatory. People can walk, bike, or run to work or around town if they choose. No one forces anyone to buy or lease their own vehicle. That's the extremist coming out of Glean. People drive by choice, not by mandatory rules. If someone works at a job that is far away, then they can take a bus, train, or walk 4 hours early if they choose. No one forces anyone to drive a motor vehicle. Most people just chose to, and it's their right to do it. Another right that we won't be taking away anytime soon. Here's a possible solution for David Glean.